Do Venus flytraps really need dormancy? Or have we been making their care more complicated than it really needs to be? If you've spent any time researching Venus flytraps, you've probably heard the same warning. They must experience a winter dormancy every year or they'll eventually die or become weak. In fact, I've given that advice myself. But recently I've started questioning whether dormancy is truly essential, or whether Venus flytraps can remain healthy for years without a traditional winter rest, providing that we give them the right indoor growing conditions. I strongly encourage you to stick around to the end of this video, because the evidence that we're going to examine might completely change the way you think about Venus flytrap dormancy, and whether it's actually necessary at all. Hello everyone, welcome to Carnivorous Plants Hub. One of my biggest goals of this channel is helping beginners successfully grow and enjoy these amazing plants. That includes teaching people how to grow Venus flytraps indoors, in a place where they can actually see them, interact with them, and enjoy them throughout the years. Growing Venus flytraps indoors is absolutely possible, and I have a lot of new content planned that will cover lighting, watering, feeding, fertilizing, and other practices that can help you do it successfully. But there's one major question we need to address first. What happens when winter arrives? Do indoor Venus flytraps still need dormancy? What does the available evidence actually tell us? And what might happen if we decide to skip dormancy altogether? Today, I'm going to share why my opinion on Venus flytrap dormancy is beginning to change, what I still believe we need to be cautious about, and how I plan to put this idea to the test with my very own plants. A major resource for today's video is an article written by Venus flytrap grower Will Ratcliffe. Will is a professor of evolutionary biology at Georgia Tech. In this article, Will presents some compelling evidence that Venus flytraps may not require traditional winter dormancy we've always been told is essential. You can find the article at famcliff.com. I've also included a direct link in the video description and the pinned comment. I strongly encourage you to read that article for yourself after this video is over. If you're excited about this experiment, make sure to pour a little water on the like button and subscribe to Carnivorous Plants Hub. Over the coming months, I'll be sharing regular updates on the plants that are skipping dormancy, along with plenty of new information about growing Venus flytraps successfully indoors. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Make sure to turn on the notifications so you don't miss the results of this experiment or any of my upcoming indoor growing videos. And real quick before we continue, if you want to make caring for your Venus flytraps easier, go ahead and visit carnivorousplanthub.com. We have complete repotting kits with our premium pre-rinsed soil blend, bloodworm feeding kits that include everything you need to feed your plant, and fertilizer kits designed to support strong, healthy growth. Each kit takes all the guesswork out of choosing the right products and gives you exactly what you need to care for your carnivorous plants successfully. But don't just take my word for it. Head on over to carnivorousplanthub.com and see what other growers are saying. You'll find hundreds of positive reviews from customers who have used these kits to take the guesswork out of carnivorous plant care and grow strong, healthy plants on their own. In his article, Will highlights 3 specific examples that challenge the idea that Venus flytraps absolutely require dormancy. I want to spend some time discussing each one of these because they're an important part of why my opinion is beginning to change. The first example comes from an experienced carnivorous plant grower, John Brittnacher. John discusses his growing methods in an article and newsletter published by the International Carnivorous Plant Society. I'll link both of those resources in the description and the pinned comment, and strongly encourage you to go read those as well as Will's article when this video is over. I'm especially happy to see John referenced here because I first read his article and newsletter about 5 years ago. His work has been a major influence on many of the techniques I use with my own plants today. In his writing, John mentions skipping dormancy several times. He even shows divisions that were recently repotted from a group of Venus flytraps that had been growing indoors under artificial lights for approximately 10 years, without experiencing any kind of traditional dormancy. That is an important example because we're not just talking about a plant that skipped dormancy for 1 or 2 winters. According to John, these plants had been growing continuously for an entire decade. You may also notice that John feeds his Venus flytraps rehydrated bloodworms. Now, where have we heard that one before? Again, John, I want to thank you for the inspiration. However, I also want to be fair about the limitations of this example. We don't have a controlled study, detailed yearly measurements, or a large collection of data to examine. What we have is a reported experience of one knowledgeable and respected grower. That does still carry a lot of weight with me though. Many of the other techniques I've adopted from John have worked extremely well for my own plants. I trust his experience, but without controlled research or more detailed documentation, we still have to classify this as anecdotal evidence. It doesn't definitively prove that dormancy is unnecessary for Venus flytraps, but it does demonstrate that at least some flytraps appear capable of remaining healthy for many years without it. John even points out what he sees as the absurdity of putting Venus flytraps into a refrigerator for dormancy. And I have to admit, that one felt like a bit of a kick in the stomach because I recently completed my first refrigerator dormancy experiment and made several videos documenting that entire process. And to be clear, both of those plants went through the refrigerator dormancy are still alive, healthy, and growing extremely well. The process worked, and I wouldn't call the experiment a failure in any way. But successfully surviving refrigerator dormancy doesn't necessarily mean that it was the best or only option for those plants. Based on what I'm learning now, I'm beginning to question whether the risks, stress, and extra work associated with refrigerator dormancy are actually necessary, especially when growing Venus flytraps indoors. I'm not ready to say that refrigerator dormancy should never be used. For some growers in certain situations, it may still be a practical option. But I'm starting to believe that keeping an indoor Venus flytrap growing under strong lights throughout the winter could be a better and simpler alternative. If anything, the experiment showed just how hardy Venus flytraps are, basically surviving 3 to 4 months with almost zero light, which is pretty incredible all by itself. The second example involves tissue culture. I'm not going to dig too deeply into the tissue culture process for this video, but it is definitely worth discussing. Venus flytraps grown through tissue culture are kept under controlled conditions that encourage continuous growth. During this process, they do not experience a traditional seasonal dormancy. If you purchase a Venus flytrap from a big box store, there's a good chance that it originally produced through tissue culture. That means that the plant may have never experienced a true winter dormancy before reaching the store. This shows us that Venus flytraps can grow and develop for a period of time without dormancy. However, there is an important counter-argument here. Most plants aren't kept in tissue culture for many years. The goal is typically to produce large quantities of plants quickly, grow them until they're ready for sale, and then send them out to the retailers and customers. Because of that, tissue culture does not give much long-term information about the effects of skipping dormancy. It demonstrates that young Venus flytraps can grow continuously without an immediate problem, but it does not prove that a mature plant can remain healthy indefinitely without a seasonal rest. So once again, this is meaningful evidence, but it isn't conclusive proof. The final argument comes from growers who raise Venus flytraps in tropical climates. These regions do not experience the cold winter temperatures typically associated with natural dormancy period, yet many growers report successfully keeping their flytraps growing year-round. These experiences provide another real-world example suggesting that Venus flytraps may be capable of remaining healthy without a traditional cold dormancy. If dormancy were always an absolute requirement, we would expect these plants to steadily decline and eventually die, but that does not appear to be what every tropical grower experiences. However, we need to apply the same caution here that we did with the previous examples. Most of these reports are anecdotal. We generally do not have a controlled comparison, detailed measurements, or long-term records showing the plant's age, health, trap size, growth rate, or growing conditions. It is also possible that some tropical locations experience seasonal changes in rainfall, daylight, or temperature that slow the plant's growth without producing a traditional cold dormancy. These reports cannot definitively prove that dormancy is unnecessary, but when they are considered alongside John's decade-long indoor plants and the continuous growth seen in tissue culture, they add another meaningful piece of the overall picture. I've been aware of these examples for several years, which is why the possibility of skipping dormancy has always remained in the back of my mind. However, anecdotal reports alone weren't enough to convince me to risk a significant portion of my own collection. The next piece of information is what finally gave me the confidence to branch out and test this approach myself. In his article, Will shares the results of his own 3-year experience growing a Venus flytrap without dormancy. The experiment began with a single flytrap that he purchased from Target. That plant has now grown continuously for more than 3 years without a dormant period, and through repeated growth and division, Will has produced approximately 60 plants from that one plant that he bought at Target. In September of 2025, he selected one plant from that group that had developed 7 separate growth points and divided it into 7 individual plants. 5 of those plants remained under his normal indoor growing conditions and continued growing without dormancy. The other 2 were placed into dormancy for comparison. This photograph was taken in March of 2026, approximately 5 months after the plants were divided. The 5 plants at the top are the ones that skipped dormancy and continued growing indoors. Most had already grown to approximately the same size as the original plant, and some were ready to be divided again. The 2 plants at the bottom were placed into dormancy. They were still alive and healthy, so dormancy certainly didn't harm them. However, you can't ignore the difference in growth. During those 5 months, the plants that skipped dormancy grew considerably more than the plants that were resting. Now, to be fair, this experiment by itself does not prove that Venus flytraps can remain healthy indefinitely without dormancy. A 5-month comparison doesn't really tell us whether or not Venus flytraps can survive long-term if you skip a winter dormancy period. But this experiment provides the foundation for the next part of Will's argument. And, in my opinion, what comes next may be the most compelling part of the entire case for skipping dormancy. Okay, it's time for a little math.
Right. Let's do the math.
But don't worry, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds here. Will goes into much more detail in his article, so I highly recommend reading it if you want to see the complete methodology. For this video, I'm simply going to summarize the basic idea of the conclusion that he reached.
I'm going to have to science the shit out of this.
The model is based on how frequently a healthy Venus flytrap can divide when it's actively growing. For the sake of this thought experiment, let's make an extremely conservative assumption. Imagine that a Venus flytrap that skips dormancy remains healthy for only 3 years and then immediately dies. And just to be clear here, there is currently no evidence showing that a Venus flytrap will die after 3 years without dormancy. We're intentionally placing that limitation on the plant to see whether skipping dormancy could still provide an advantage. Now, compare that plant to one that enters dormancy for 3 months every year. The dormant plant survives indefinitely, but during those 3 months, it stops actively growing and producing divisions. In Will's model, the plant that skips dormancy produces approximately 5 divisions per year. The plant receiving 3 months of dormancy has only 9 active growing months, so its average drops to approximately 3.75 divisions per year. That gives us an interesting question. Which strategy provides the larger population over time? Is it the plant that grows continuously but dies after 3 years, or the plant that receives dormancy and survives indefinitely? To explore this, we'll use the Euler-Lotka equation, a mathematical formula commonly used to model population growth. According to his calculations, the population that skips dormancy expands approximately 26% faster, even when every individual plant is assumed to die only after 3 years. That difference might not sound enormous at first, but when it compounds year after year, the numbers become staggering. Over 10 years, Will's model projects that the population receiving dormancy would grow to approximately 5.8 million plants. The population that's skipping dormancy would grow to approximately 58 million plants. That's roughly 10 times as many plants, even though the model assumes that every plant skipping dormancy dies after 3 years, while every plant receiving dormancy can survive indefinitely. Now, these numbers are theoretical. They assume consistent division rates, ideal growing conditions, and that every division survives and continues reproducing at the same rate. Real-world results would obviously be a lot more complicated than that. But the model raises an interesting question. If the original plant eventually dies, but leaves behind dozens of healthy, genetically identical divisions, would you even notice? And would it really matter? If one original plant has already produced 60 replacements, the loss of that original growth point may not mean the loss of the plant in any meaningful sense. Its genetics are still alive and growing throughout all of those divisions. And remember, there's no evidence that a Venus flytrap automatically dies after 3 years without dormancy. That was simply a hypothetical limitation built into the model. Will's original target flytrap and its divisions are still going strong after more than 3 years without any dormancy. For me, this mathematical argument doesn't prove that dormancy is unnecessary. What it shows is that even if skipping dormancy were to shorten the lifespan of an individual growth point, the additional growth and division could still more than compensate for the shorter lifespan. There is, however, one important question that I didn't see fully addressed in Will's article. What about the plant's genetic potential? A Venus flytrap may survive, grow, and divide without dormancy, but will it produce the largest, strongest traps that its genetics are capable of producing? Could a seasonal rest help the plant return with more vigorous growth? Or will continuous indoor growing produce equally impressive results? I'm going to grow approximately half of my collection indoors year-round without dormancy, while the other half will continue growing outdoors and experiencing the seasons naturally. Over time, I'll compare their overall health, division rates, growth patterns, and most importantly, their ability to produce large, vigorous traps. It's going to be a lot of fun to have the same cultivars being grown inside and outside, one with and one without dormancy, then comparing the two year over year. That's the part of this experiment that I'm most excited about. I spent years helping beginners and speaking with experienced growers about these plants, and dormancy is one of those topics that almost always generates the strongest opinions. I did want to talk real quick about some arguments you commonly hear from people when they try to defend Venus flytraps needing dormancy. One of the most common arguments against skipping dormancy is based on personal experience. You'll often hear someone say, "I skipped dormancy and my plant didn't grow well the following year." That experience is worth considering. But without a detailed breakdown of the plant's growing conditions, it's difficult to know whether skipping dormancy was actually the cause. Was the plant receiving enough light? Was the water low in dissolved minerals? Was it growing in the correct soil? Did it receive enough food or fertilizer? Were there pests, disease, temperatures, or another source of stress involved? When several variables are changing at the same time, we can't automatically blame the plant's decline on a lack of dormancy. Another reasonable argument is that Venus flytraps naturally experience winter dormancy in their native habitat. If they evolved under these seasonal conditions, it makes sense to assume that we should reproduce that same cycle in cultivation. But there is another way to look at that argument. Do Venus flytraps go dormant because they physiologically require a yearly rest? Or because colder temperatures, shorter days, and reduced insect activity make continued growth difficult in the wild? If we remove those seasonal limitations by providing warm temperatures, strong artificial light, and access to food throughout the year, is it possible that the plant no longer needs that dormant period? I don't believe we currently have enough controlled, long-term evidence to answer that question with absolute certainty. But it is a reasonable question to ask, and one worth testing rather than dismissing. Inevitably, when making a video that goes against the grain like this, there is going to be some pretty strong opinions. I 100% welcome this. Challenging the status quo is how we make progress. With all that being said, I'm not here to tell you that skipping dormancy is better than giving a Venus flytrap a traditional winter rest. I would also never tell anyone that skipping dormancy is the only correct way to grow these plants. I have a strong, healthy Venus flytrap collection that has experienced dormancy for years. Dormancy clearly works, and I'm not suddenly arguing that everyone should just stop doing it altogether. But I do believe that dormancy is one of the biggest barriers preventing more people from growing Venus flytraps. The moment you tell a beginner that they may need to put their plant outside for the winter, move it in an unheated garage, or even place it in the refrigerator, the entire hobby can suddenly feel complicated and intimidating. That's usually when someone says, "Yeah, never mind, I'll just buy a cactus." But what if it didn't have to be that complicated? What if someone could place a Venus flytrap under a good grow light on their desk, keep it properly watered, feed it every couple of weeks, and enjoy watching it grow throughout the entire year? If that approach proves successful over long term, it could give an entirely new group of growers the confidence to experience these incredible plants. It could make Venus flytraps more accessible to people living in apartments, tropical climates, extremely cold regions, or anywhere else that makes traditional dormancy difficult. I don't want Venus flytraps to be reserved for only the most experienced and dedicated growers. I want them to feel achievable for beginners. That has always been one of my biggest goals with this channel and with Carnivorous Plants Hub. I believe every kid should have the opportunity to watch a Venus flytrap capture a bug. These plants are among nature's most captivating creations, and more people should have the chance to grow and enjoy them in their own home. Skipping dormancy may not be the best choice for every plant or every grower, but it just might be one of the best ways to make Venus flytraps accessible to a much larger group of curious new growers. And that possibility is absolutely worth exploring. If you want to learn how to grow bigger, stronger Venus flytraps with massive traps, check out the video that's popping up on the screen right now. And if you're excited to follow the results of this dormancy skipping experiment, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. I also want to hear what you think. Do you put your Venus flytraps through dormancy, or have you successfully grown them year-round? Drop a comment below and share your experience. Let's have a conversation about it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!